Hey, welcome to episode number 9 on our Reckless Love series, where today we're going to dive into a story which is actually one of my favorites that I ever got to teach in the classroom, which is the story of Sir Nicholas Winton and what he had ended up doing on a 2-week vacation that would have been, by all intents and purposes, one of the most reckless acts of love that anyone could conceive. So let's get started.
Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
For anyone who's ever studied history and dived right on into World War II, they know all about the Holocaust. As far as the atrocities, as far as what was going to happen, it was one of those things that many people will look back on and will search for the glimmers of hope that resided in one of the most dark eras of our history. And there's one story that happens before all of the atrocities, before all of the murders, before being sent off in trains in the concentration camps. There's a story of a man named Nicholas Winton, who, before the war had ever begun, had an idea. See, most of the Western countries were not taking Jewish citizens out of Europe. The world was encased in the Great Depression, and they weren't taking other people from other countries because it would have been more of a burden on the nations themselves. The US was even a part of that we didn't actually take in individuals. But there was one country that was willing to do it. It was Great Britain. And as a result of that, a lot of them were going inside of Germany, a lot of them were going inside of Austria, and over 10,000 children and Jewish citizens were actually taken outside of those countries and placed inside of Great Britain. But there was one country that was completely left out. There was no organization going in there to help them, and that was Czechoslovakia. And so here comes Sir Nicholas Winton. Here's a man who on a 2-week vacation ends up saving 669 children. He organizes 7 different trains. There were supposed to be 8. But he organizes all of these trains. He gathers up children. He convinces parents to let them go to take unaccompanied minors across Germany into Holland and then over to Great Britain. Over the course of these 7 trains, he runs into all of these different obstacles. He had to find ways to get Germans to allow Jews to pass through without being taken or sent off to concentration camps. And so he raises money, recklessly gets donors to finance bribes that he can then give to German officers, train station, policemen. And all the way through, he's finding way after way after way after way of getting these children from Czechoslovakia all the way to Great Britain. See, he didn't just stop there. See, there was no official organization, so most people would probably just quit and say, oh, I can't join anything. Well, he fraudulently created one. He fraudulently created paperwork that didn't exist. He fraudulently went ahead and created passports and IDs clarifying that Great Britain was in fact going to take these children that weren't actually supposed to go because he made up the office. He made up the organization. See, reckless love doesn't look at the problem. It looks at the solution of what can actually be. Yesterday we talked about the conversion of Saul to Paul. And we see this beautiful transition because our God sees not what is, but he also sees what can be. Saul was a murderer. Paul was a servant. See, the love of Jesus in our lives is what converts one things and doesn't hold us back from anything that we want in our own lives. And we see that in the story of Sir Nicholas Winton, who didn't hold back, who basically took a 2-week vacation and ended up saving 669 kids. There was 250 kids on that final 8th train. But that train never made it. See, the outbreak of war happened the day before, and that train never left Czechoslovakia. As a result of the 669 kids, there's over 6,000 Winton children alive today. They call themselves that because if it wasn't for the reckless love of one man and his conspirators, they would not be alive today. I love stories like these because they are inspiring testaments of what Christians do when times aren't good. It's what Jesus had done for us that in turn inspires us to do for others. Guys, I don't know what your reckless love story is or how Jesus has gotten a hold of you. But no matter the circumstances, Jesus' love is the way. It's what changes lives. It's what brings about change. And it's what can save us from what could eventually be a very dark future. I hope this story is encouraging to you, and I hope you actually learn more about this man. Because the coolest thing about them is he never told anyone about this story. Like most of the time when Jesus makes a miracle, he says, don't go out and tell everyone, but just go out and sin no more. See, he didn't come back and tell everyone of his great works. It was actually his wife who went up into the attic and found in 1988 a scrapbook of all of these kids' names, this organization, and everything that went along with it. Reckless love doesn't need attention. Reckless love is just what is needed to save lives. Guys, I love you, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day.